Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Freedom, the Underground Railroad. This is a game designed by Brian Mayer and published by Academy Games. If you're not familiar with this game, it's been out since I believe 2012. It was out of print for a while and it is now back in print. I got a copy of this from Academy Games at BGGCon, and this is a solitaire slash cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to play, but this is a very highly regarded game. As you can see by the accolades on the front, it is a winner of the Co-op Game of the Year from the Dice Tower, Best Thematic Game of the Year from GameQuest, and Historical Game of the Year from the Wargamer. But let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this is all about. It says here, Freedom, the Underground Railroad is a challenging cooperative game pitting players against the institution of slavery during the early 1800s through the Civil War. Players take on the role of historical abolitionist characters and work together for the abolitionist cause, raising funds and helping slaves as they move from the southern states to freedom in Canada. But every move risks alerting the slave catchers who roam the board, trying to return the runaway slaves back to the plantations. Freedom is an engaging and educational game about a pivotal time in American history. Players become familiar with the important historical figures, political agendas, and crucial events that unfolded to change American history and to bring freedom to an enslaved people. The game teaches teamwork because players strategize together to achieve their objectives and win against the game. It is fun, easy rules with continual involvement by all players, and educational. It's perfect for classrooms, homeschool, and practical learning. The game comes with a large mounted map, deck of abolitionist cards, setup cards for variable game challenges, challenges, 96 wooden slave cubes, 6 historical character roll sheets, 2 custom slave catcher dice, 5 game-controlled slave catcher pawns, 3 counter sheets with conductors, fundraising, support tokens, and coinage. Rulebook with historical overview. And that is an example of or sample of what you're going to get in the game here. The cards, some of the counters, the coin markers here, as well as the mounted board that you're going to get. And my alert just went off on my phone. But let's take a look inside the box and see what we get. We've got our rule book. We've got some counters here, which we'll come back to. And we've got our mounted map board. The slave pawns. We've got our dice. Got our card deck. And this is a slave market card deck. This is the different agents and the player counters, or player mats, I believe this is what these are. And then we've got our pawns, wood pawns. So now in this version, the updated version, wood pawns are now standard with the game. Before, I believe it was an upgrade. On the left-hand side, this is the different eras. It looks like 1800 to 1839, 1840 to 59, and 1860 to the conclusion of the Civil War in 1865. Then you have your queue for the abolitionist and the cost of the cards. And then here is the representation of the United States. The southern United States and the northern United States here is separated by different color coding. And then you're trying to run these slaves through the underground railroads through the southern states and the northern states up into Canada, so you can get them to freedom. Different decks that you'll have. We've got our slave market here that has the number of slaves for sale, and then we've got Station Master, which we talked about before. This is the different eras that we were talking about before, 1800 to 1839, and 40 to 59, and then 60 to 65. And then we've got some other cards here, and I'm not sure if these are, doesn't say on the back, but yeah, that's one of the things here is look at the back of the card here. This is a very evocative image. It says, shows a pair of bound hands to manacles, and it says, "Am I not a man and a brother?" This subject is a very touchy subject for a lot of people. There are some people that don't want to face it. There are some people that don't want to talk about it. And there are people that for some reason think that when you do talk about it, it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a piece of our history. It's a piece of history that needs to be discussed, talked about, and faced. because as the old adage goes, if you those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Here are your players that you can, the agents, the different types of characters you can play as. You've got conductor, stockholder, station master, shepherd, agent, and a preacher. Those are the different characters available to you. And then you have the rules summary. You've got 3 of those, I believe. Yes, it looks like 3 of those. So you can have those on hand to look at, walking you through the different parts of the game: setup, sequence of play, planning phase, action phase, and on the backhand side we've got the slave market phase, lantern phase, and then game end and winning, as well as scoring, and then how to handle it with 1 or 2 players only rather than a full house of up to 4. Here's the rule book, and if you are familiar with any of Academy's games, they do a really fantastic job of hand-holding you through their games and getting you right into it. And they also have always have a tendency to have some very evocative, beautiful paintings, as this one is here on the cover, as you see a armed woman leading a slave family to freedom. And here it explains to you the different parts of the game, different components for the game, how the game is set up. Then you are done with your setup, you get into the gameplay itself and the different phases and how they're handled. Your action phase, conductor tokens, and how those work. Then the token limits on each, and then buying abolitionist cards, and then reserve abolitionist cards, and opposition abolitionist cards. That's what these other cards were. These were opposition. These are the abolitionist cards, and these are the opposition abolitionist cards. And we've got our explanation of different features on the card and how they can be read and used, and then the slave market phase, the lantern phase, game end and winning, and then again how to handle it with 1 or 2 players, just like we saw on the player aid sheet, and then the role cards and how each of these cards is used in the game. At the end it has the states movement, and then from revolution to the age of immediatism. The age of immediatism is 1830 to 1860, and then on the back it goes to the Underground Railroad and has William Still and Frederick Douglass there, as well as the credits at the end. But that is everything you get inside of Freedom, the Underground Railroad, from Academy Games. You know, one of the things that Academy is really great at is adding a lot of, in their games, having a lot of information that's available for schools, whether it's homeschooling or if you are in the school system itself. You can get educational materials directly through Academy to support their games, such as Freedom, so that way it can be usable in a classroom. And I believe that one of the best ways to teach is for kids to have hands-on the history itself, and this is a great way to get hands-on the history and to learn about a very dark but crucial period in our history. And it's handled in a very delicate nature, with a mind to educate, and also teach people teamwork as well, and how to work together in a complex problem. And that is a look inside Freedom, the Underground Railroad from Academy Games. The second printing is now available. If you missed out on it before, now you can get a hold of it. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.